Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new library from Red Room Audio called SAGA 2 Organic Alien Percussion. So the library needs the full version of Kontakt 6.7.1 or above, and it will take up just under 15 gigabytes of your hard drive space. At the time of this review, it is on intro pricing at $99, and that will move to a full price of $119. And there is also a further discount for owners of SAGA 1. So back in 2020, I actually reviewed SAGA 1, which was a great library of big acoustic drums, and parts of that library are still sort of sitting in my template today, so I was kind of excited to see what this new expansion of SAGA had to offer. This time around, the focus is on unusual organic percussion sounds. So let's dive right in, and here's the patch list we have on the left. So this is everything in the library. We have an auxiliary patch, cymbals and gongs, large drums, medium drums, small drums, and tonal. I'm starting out on the large drums patch, so I'll just give you a quick overview of the UI. It's really, really simple. We have volume, panning, tuning, and a choice of effects racks, which is basically this secondary page here. So you've got almost a guitar pedal sort of setup of adding additional effects if you want them. This little knob can kind of swing between those settings. We have a filter resonance control. Global just turns these controls from being individual to obviously global across everything. We have an attack and release, so part of our ADSR, and we have a sample offset as well. Finally, we have a rhythmic gate, which you can sync to your DAW's host tempo or Kontakt's host tempo as well. This drop-down control here can be used to change between all the different sounds. So each sound is basically mapped to a different key, but they're not just a single sound, so they're not just a one-shot. They do all have some round robin and velocity layers as well. So I'd sort of consider this library as almost like an individual instrument, which has been mapped to each key. And interestingly enough, as soon as you select one of the sounds, it then maps it also to these two green keys at the bottom, so then you can kind of play it with two hands if you want to. So that's why the patch sizes are quite large. This one's almost 2 gigabytes, but that is essentially because, yeah, you have almost a instrument per key with all those round robins and velocity layers associated with it. If you are struggling for RAM though, you can always go through, select a key, and then unload it just by clicking this one here. You're also able to turn off the layers and round robins just by using this little freeze one here. All right, so let's have a listen to some of these large drums. So as you can hear, they're all playable. They've all got layers and velocities in there, so it kind of turns them from being a weird, quirky one-shot sound into something that's actually playable, which is really nice. Although these are called large drums, I do sort of find that there's a real kind of mixture of things which do sound really big and then some smaller stuff, and we do still have the other categories for medium and small as well. There's also quite a jump in volume in some of these, so I apologise. So although these are all organic samples, they've all come from non-electronic sound sources, basically. They obviously do have processing on them, so that kind of blends that sort of line between the organic and the processed. Some really cool sounds in here though. It's nice to get this kind of more unusual stuff and still have it sort of be playable. And I'd say that is the big difference here, because it's considerably easier, I think, to make a library of odd one-shot sounds, but to kind of go the extra mile and make them playable is a big deal. All right, so that's some of the large ones. Let's take a listen to some of the medium ones. Some of the processing for me kind of tips it over into that not sounding quite so organic side. And I definitely prefer the kind of subtler stuff, I think. The other thing I've noticed a little bit is that some of the different layers and round robins, they have kind of an alteration in pitch, and obviously this sometimes happens with more unusual instruments where it's harder to kind of keep that sort of pitch center exactly the same, but it does kind of add to the quirkiness of these as well. That's nice, I like that. Yeah, see, there's some kind of weird sort of squelchy, flangey stuff that I'm not as into, but overall, there's some really nice stuff in here. I do find they benefit from kind of being played a certain way. They've obviously got interesting sort of tails and textures to them, so it's nice to sort of leave them fairly minimal than start to try and play really sort of fast kind of stuff with it. It just gets kind of, you know, super messy if you go into any sort of other styles. But I think this is going to be a nicer library for subtler cues where you want to use percussion, but you don't want it as kind of obvious as just big toms and taikos and stuff. So that's a few more of the medium. Let's move on to the small. I actually just really like this kind of subby one here. That's nice, this one. That's really cool as well. Not a fan of that as much. I think that's kind of an example of one where the processing just feels a bit much, but I think the temptation when they're all laid out on the keys like this is to try and play them like some sort of kit. But obviously they're very kind of different sounds, so it's kind of a bit of a potluck whether you get something that sounds nice together. I think the best way is to really treat them as an individual instrument per key. Yeah, there's some really nice sounds in here. I think I would probably just go through and maybe some of the more processed stuff, or it's actually some of the more aggressive stuff I'm not as big a fan of, but the subtler stuff is really nice. I think what I'd probably do is just go through and turn off a few of the ones I didn't want, and then next time I dip into the patch, if I've saved this, then I'm going to see kind of all my favorite picks up there, as it were. That could have been something really nice as well to add to this library, is just a way of maybe selecting favorites as opposed to unloading the ones that you don't want. You know, maybe so we could just go through and highlight, and then all the keys that turn a different color are the ones that are our favorites, kind of thing. Yeah, that's the small drums. Let's go on to actually the auxiliary stuff, then the cymbals and gongs, and then I'll finish up with the tonal ones. I like a patch called Flubber. Yeah, there's some nice stuff in that one. But again, I think some of these are maybe the processing goes a bit too far into that retro sci-fi vibe. All right, let's move on, listen to some cymbals and gongs. I'd be really interested with a lot of these sounds to hear what they were like before the processing as well. Could have been a really nice inclusion, maybe just to be able to turn off the processing entirely. But I do understand that a lot of these sounds have probably been made, you know, in conjunction with the processing, so it's hard to then separate them. That's cool. That's nice, I love that. Yeah, it's some really nice mood setter kind of sounds here. Yeah, I'm actually pretty fond of this one. Definitely got that kind of creepy sci-fi sort of vibe that could be nice to add in. All right, so final one then up is going to be the tonal stuff. So this is all your sort of pitched percussion stuff. Yeah, it's cool. So these are, I think it's crotals or crotales. They're kind of a sort of suspended cymbals on a stand kind of thing. Yeah, really nice. Got a kind of creepy / innocent vibe going on at the same time. So for these ones, they're not per key, obviously, because they're playable. So you can just either use the drop down list and see everything in there, or we can just patch through with these. Yeah, I have no idea what that one was, but it's kind of cool. That's cool as well. It's got kind of was that sort of weird pitched watery vibe to it. Let's just try a couple more of these. That's nice, I like that. Not as keen on that one. Let's try a couple more. That's cool, I like that. Yeah, really sort of tuned down kind of vibe. Let's try this last one. Yeah, it's nice, I like that. Kind of bassy pluck sort of thing. All right, guys, hope that gives you a good overview of the library. I've really liked a lot of the sounds in here. I'd say maybe a quarter to a third of it is stuff that's possibly a bit over-processed and I maybe wouldn't use as much. But the subtler stuff and the more organic side of the stuff, I think definitely I could find some use for. I would say it is reasonably specific in its feel and tone. It tends to add sort of more towards the sort of unsettling and creepy sort of vibe. But that's sort of right in my wheelhouse, so I'm pretty pleased with that. And although the aliens and the marketing of this kind of makes you think sci-fi, I do think there's definitely other genres and scoring styles that you could kind of use this for. A bit like with the recent review I did for Uncharted 88, the Heaviosity library. I'd sort of say the same thing with this one, where it's really nice to have these more unusual sounds, but to have them with the round robins and the dynamic layers and have them nice and playable. So that's a really big plus. A few things I would have loved to have seen with this library is maybe sort of a way of marking favorite sounds on the keys. I think that would really help kind of coming back to this and maybe using it on a project is just being able to mark out all those ones that you're going to use a lot. And with a few of the instruments where they sort of change in pitch as well, it might be nice to have a round robin selection tool so you could maybe take out some of the ones where the pitch was sort of really different. But those are just sort of nice to have features for me. They're definitely not a deal breaker for this, and I think I can definitely see me getting some use from this library. So thanks for watching. Any questions, just let me know in the comments. If not, I'll see you again on the next one.